All right. Hey, everyone. Jen here. Welcome to this free training on optimizing your LinkedIn profile for 5-figure and 6-figure deals using LinkedIn. So when I want to talk about using LinkedIn, it's good to question, like, why am I even qualified to talk to you about this? So I started my consultancy about nearly 2 years ago in the middle of the pandemic. And I had previously been using LinkedIn a lot in my marketing capacity with a charity, setting up charity and corporate events and getting people to come along to these conferences and small events, large events, even international conferences. And I realized the power of LinkedIn for finding the right people, connecting with them, and then just inviting them to engage with something. So when I started to consult, I just started to use the same process for my own client generation and then help other people use LinkedIn more effectively for their client generation. I was able to generate my first high ticket paying client within the first month of outreach cold. And since then, I've been able to include email with my cold outreach and help other clients generate anywhere between 5 to 40 calls a month, depending on their niche and their industry. Now, the reason I want to do this training, which is on optimizing your profile, is that optimizing your profile is so fundamental to all of your LinkedIn activity, because it's really the combination of a great profile, which is essentially a landing page or a sales page for you, and the right leads, so adding the right people and bringing them into your network, which is the catalyst for sales and business conversations. And what we want to aim for is a 30% plus connection rate. So you can get higher if you're targeting a very specific niche, almost like clubbing and networking with a very specific type of person. If you're going broader, it's more realistic to get around a 30% connection rate. Anything lower, and we're typically either not targeting the right people, or our profile's not optimized, or just our industry is really not active on LinkedIn. And that's the case for several industries, including probably agriculture, bricks and mortar businesses and things really are not present on LinkedIn. But for most white collar industries, then LinkedIn is a great place to be networking with the right people. If you're able to fill up your network with the right leads, this is where you're getting like warm leads who are probably interested in your content and your message. And it's a platform from which your content can really be shared with the right eyeballs. So it's a little bit like being at the right conference and being able to share the breakout session or the plenary or the keynote with the right audience. Like, it's just such a brilliant opportunity just to kind of curate your own network of the right people. And essentially, they can become highly qualified based on the way that you interact with them. So based on their social behavior, based on the way they're posting or liking the content that they're sharing, and based on their interest in what you have to share and what you have to offer, you're able to qualify those leads quite effectively, because LinkedIn is a social platform and therefore you can get that interaction with people. Yeah, and ultimately it's just a nurture environment. So business may not happen quickly for you and for your industry, but it's definitely an environment where you can start to grow your authority and grow your reach and nurture those leads to the point of sale. So for a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of consultants, they really were hit during the pandemic because they really based their lead generation on conferences and networking. So going to local networking events, local business chamber of commerce, BNI, things like that, or just going to industry sector events. And I just would like everyone to understand that LinkedIn is the 24/7 kind of conference and event that you could dream of, really, because you can find people by exactly their role title and company, by their region, by the company's size and revenue, and by other kind of key factors about the company that you can filter to narrow that down. And then you can engage with them directly because it's that social platform. And so it's a combination of a database and a social platform, which is essentially what you would want from a networking event. The keys for all our lead generation, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, is these 5 elements. So it's awareness, understanding, relevance, distinction, and trust. And all of these are what I believe LinkedIn provides, because number one, your lead or your potential client needs to be aware of you. They can't buy from you if they don't even know that you exist. So being able to connect with people and be a part of their network means that immediately now they're going to at least be aware of who you are. Secondly, understanding. So leads need to understand that you have a solution, that you can solve a problem and provide a business kind of outcome or goal that they need. And as soon as they can understand that, whether that's through content that you're sharing or the messages that you're sharing or the way that you speak to them, then that's again how you're able to generate the business. Relevance is a little bit more than understanding, and it's really that you not only can help them solve a problem, but you help other clients just like them solve that problem. So for example, if you help manufacturing companies with their SEO, for example, it doesn't mean you're going to help every single client or every single business with SEO. You're very specifically able to help manufacturing clients with SEO, and that establishes your relevance when you meet other manufacturing business owners who are like, oh, you know my industry, you're relevant to me. Let's get to know each other a little bit more. The fourth step is your distinction and also your authority. And that comes down to an individual as well as a business perspective. And what that means is, okay, we're all competing against bigger agencies than ourselves, bigger consulting firms. You know, we all know there's the big four consulting, there's these giant agencies that can obviously outbeat us any day. But what we have is our distinctive qualities, and we also have our unique background that builds our authority. So if you become very, very specialized at a certain thing, you can outbeat the big consultancies because of the boutique nature, the bespoke nature, and the very specific nature of the solutions that you can solve. So being able to establish and point out your distinctives and your authority is exactly the way that you're going to kind of cut through and create that business. And finally is trust. Obviously, trust can be established by sharing value, showing case studies, showing results of things that you've created, a track record. Your business isn't just appeared overnight, that you've been in existence for a while and you've been actively helping clients. And so LinkedIn, again, is a great place to show the case studies and the evidence of the outcomes that you've created. So as you grow your network and as you fill your network with the right type of leads, you see on the right-hand side, this is a snapshot of my profile. You're able to get people viewing you, people who you maybe not even appreciated even exist, reaching out with an inbound inquiry, people viewing your content, interacting with your content, and all of these other things that we want to happen with our social networking. So for this training to work, there's a few criteria about who are you and who is this relevant to. This is particularly directed to B2B consultants and service providers, particularly anyone who's an expert in their field and people with an established business offer. So this training isn't great if you're just starting out or you're testing a new offer. It's better if you've already got an offer that you've solved problems, and it's really just about kind of accelerating from there and just filling up your pipeline with more and more leads. Now, if you are a B2B service provider, most likely your services cost $5,000 or more. I would call that high ticket consulting or service or agency fees. And of course, anywhere up to hundreds of thousands of dollars per contract. But the reason we're focusing on high ticket sales is because of the nature of the networking and the relationship building is not a high volume turnover thing of a few $100s here or there. It's really about a contract and engagement for a high ticket service. Now, if you're currently winning business, typically you'd be winning business via referral and word of mouth, or you're winning business through other means such as SEO or paid ads or other content marketing. And if you're not really making use of LinkedIn, then this training is good for you. And most of all, just for anyone, if you really just don't have a LinkedIn strategy or you don't have a cold outreach strategy, so you get inbound leads, you don't really have an outbound system, then this is for you, particularly if you've tried it and it didn't work. So before we go into optimizing your profile, there's a few things that are worth stating that are definite no-nos. I see people making these mistakes a lot, so that's why I wanted to list them. Firstly, LinkedIn is not your CV. Often the origin of our use of LinkedIn is when we're job searching. So when we're a graduate, we start our LinkedIn profile and we start to look for work. But LinkedIn shouldn't stay as your CV. As soon as you're in a company and your job is to network and to sell and to use LinkedIn to build relationships, you want to craft your LinkedIn profile as more of a sales page and less as a CV. And we'll talk about more of that in a minute. Similarly, LinkedIn shouldn't be your biography or autobiography. A lot of people use LinkedIn to kind of talk about themselves in the third person or list all their accomplishments right from the beginning to now, their passions, their origins, where they've come from. I would stress that that's not the most useful use of LinkedIn because people aren't looking to get to know you. They're looking for a solution to a business problem. And that's where, again, we can use LinkedIn as a landing page or a sales page, and we can craft of that very specifically. A lot of people set up a LinkedIn page and then hope that people will connect with them, hope that, leads will kind of materialize. LinkedIn is not a place to just sit and wait. You can get inbound leads, particularly if you're heavy on the content and you are adding people, but it's because it's social in nature. It's a place where you can initiate conversations. And the more you initiate, the more, positive conversations you're going to get. On the other hand, it's definitely not a place to just connect and pitch. And I'm sure we've all experienced that on LinkedIn, just unsolicited pitches and spammy kind of inbox messages and things that are really not relevant to us and shows that person hasn't taken much care to really find out about us before they reach out. There's definitely a place for slow networking and nurturing relationships using LinkedIn. LinkedIn, compared to other social platforms, your Instagram and your Facebook, where we have a lot more of our social life being shared, as well as business content, LinkedIn is more purely the business content. So the personal content that you share is great as long as it has a business point to it. So it's less of the memes and the funny things and the quirky cat videos and things like that. Because essentially, and the last point is, people are just busy. They're there for a function. They're there to read a bit of news, message a few people or respond to a few messages, maybe update something, and then get off LinkedIn. So it's not a place that they hang around, and they're not going to chit chat with you a lot. So LinkedIn messaging is also pretty much to the point as well. All right, so let's jump into how to optimize your profile. So I'm just going to look at my profile and show you a few elements. We're going to look at the banner image and profile picture. We're going to look at the headline, which is the section underneath your name and your photo. We're going to look at your about section, which is often the place where people are writing a biography about themselves in third person, and we'll look at how we can structure that based on who we help, case studies of results we've created, how we help people, like our process, and then how people can get in touch or a call to action. And then we'll look at the other things like featured articles, skills, and recommendations. So let me just open up LinkedIn and I'll show you as an example using my own profile. Okay, so let's go over here. All right, so the first point is your banner image and your profile pic. I highly recommend using this banner image. Fill it with it's considered real estate. It's a bit like a roadside banner that you can use to talk about your business. Now, whether there's no words or logos on it, it's still got to carry the kind of the brand of your business. So for me, it's about kind of corporates, corporate B2B speaking and a platform. That's why I have myself speaking at an event here. Some people choose to write their slogan here and have, logos and things, but just definitely use that space. Make sure your profile picture is clear, that your face is clear. It's pretty much a headshot. And I also use a ring around my face just to help my face be accentuated and to stand out. So if you can see on the right-hand side, my face with the red ring kind of stands out against the white. Whereas if we look down at a few profile pictures here, this picture is almost indiscernible. It's like there's 3 people in the background, so we really can't see someone's face here. This picture is probably too close to the face, so we're not really getting a headshot. We've kind of got the head cropped off and the chin cropped off. We want to have a little bit of space around the head. Here we have no profile picture at all, which obviously just makes us feel like this person is not active on LinkedIn. And then we've got 2 fairly good profile pictures. So the face is really clear, the headshot is there, and they're facing the camera. But so you can see, I would definitely improve your picture if you can, because this image will follow you around LinkedIn. So wherever people are searching, they'll see this little micro image, and it's just about making it easy to connect with you. Underneath your name, we're going to place your headline. And this is a very short statement about who you help and how you help them. Now, a lot of people just have their job title, or they might have even their region, or they have a few keywords kind of one after the other. I would definitely advocate a statement, who you help, how you help them, the results that you create. Usually it's called an I help statement, because again, this follows you around LinkedIn. So we've got this woman, Philippa, who's deep healing and transformation. We've got a director of admissions. We've got a global safeguarding consultant. Now, it would be great if this became helping senior leaders in companies navigate healing and transformation to enhance the performance of their teams. Okay, so instead of just what she does, which is healing and transformation, we know who she helps, senior leaders in companies, navigate healing and transformation for the performance of their teams. And we can understand very quickly her relevance. So you can see the utility of making it a very clear help statement right at the top. And ultimately, there's a 60-second rule. People are going to just look very quickly at your profile to understand if you're relevant to them or not, what kind of results you create. And then if they're willing, they'll look down deeper and explore more. So next is your about section. Now, this is where people can get a little bit this is where people can write their life story or talk about themselves in the third person. What I recommend is just very clear sections, what I do, my track record, who I work with. And we want to repeat our statement, that we help B2B consultants fill up their calendar with 10K to 100K contracts in 3 months. Okay, very clear who you help and how. Then you want a track record. I've helped this client, this client, this client, and this client. Who I work best with, I work with this demographic and this demographic, usually describing some of the challenges that they've had, describe their start point and where they'd like to get to. Then you want a way that you work with people. So typically step 1, step 2, step 3. We start here, then we move to this, then we implement this. This is the process how it works, and then a way that people can get in touch with you. So essentially a call to action. And we want to make this as easy as possible for people to very quickly understand who we are and how we help them. Another tip is to fill out your contact info here. So you want to add as much detail to this as possible, your websites, if you have other social things. So I've got YouTube. You can add Twitter, phone number, email address, like anything you're comfortable for people to reach you on, then just add that there. We just want to make it as straightforward as possible. You'd be surprised sometimes how difficult it is to reach people. People, they might have a LinkedIn profile and we really want to connect with them, but they're not using LinkedIn, so they're not responding, but they don't have any other details or how we can get in touch. So it becomes quite a treasure hunt to try and figure out how we can get in touch with them. And you just don't want to put any friction there between you and helping other people get in touch with you. Next section, you want to add featured content. I recommend being active on LinkedIn. So regularly share something. I share something once a week. You don't have to share it all the time. Even once a month is enough. And then you just want to pin some of your best content here. So I pin my VSL, so my video sales letter, the thing I want people to most watch, which sells my services, and then other key, documents and links and things. I just pin them there as featured content, and then fill out your experience. Now, experience often is complicated, particularly if you're wearing multiple hats. You might be a, executive board member, you might lead a company, and then you're also, working part-time for a charity. Just make sure that your primary experience, so the thing that you want to use LinkedIn most for, is at the top here, and then you can obviously add all your other roles underneath. So just kind of prioritize that, so it's the first thing that people see. Obviously, you want to fill out all your education, any not-for-profit work that you do, and your skills. Skills is quite critical because people can search LinkedIn based on keywords. So you want to, if you have a very niche skill, like a programming language, or you use a certain kind of software, or you have a certain kind of certification, then definitely add that here, and you can ask your connection for endorsements. So you can, make sure that the key skills there are related to your business. And finally, you want recommendations. You want to have received more than you've given, and just make sure they're refreshed. So every time you get a good testimonial from a client, just also ask them for a recommendation on LinkedIn. And you can do that by just clicking the plus button here. You just send them a message, say, would you mind giving me a quick recommendation, and even help them out by, if they've already given you a testimonial via email, just copy and paste the testimonial into this, click send it to them, just ask them to confirm that they're happy with that. They'll click confirm, and then it's posted to your profile. And that's a way of just filling up your recommendations and things there. So that's a pretty optimized LinkedIn profile. And obviously, we want to be adding our connections now and growing our network as much as possible. So I'm going to go back here and we'll keep going. Now, what do we say to them? Now, this is your headline piece, your I help statement. Some people don't like to say, I help, bloody, bloody, blah. It's maybe a bit too routine. But there's different ways of phrasing that. So you can say, we help as a company, we help a demographic to achieve something through a method. So we help, medium enterprise to scale and exit, scale for exit or to sell off the company through my 12-month coaching program. Or I'm helping e-commerce businesses to generate $10,000 worth of sales, without paying for ads. Or we're building entrepreneurs' mindset to handle the stress of growing a business in 6 to 12 weeks. And then, transforming underperforming businesses from making a loss to running at a profit, even if there's a global pandemic. Or the more traditional one is, I help, micro businesses to, to get their first client without hours and hours of work each week and while enjoying their job. Okay, so there's just multiple ways of saying something very similar. You can use through or without or in or even if or while, and then different verbs at the beginning. But ultimately, you want to be able to craft your statement in such a way that it's not just a static job. Like you're not just a business consultant. You're a business consultant to a certain niche, a certain type of business that wants to achieve a certain kind of outcome or overcome a certain type of problem in a specific time frame. And the more specific you get, the clearer it is your message and the easier it is to generate those conversations. The reason that LinkedIn is so powerful for B2B, and why I did emphasize earlier that this training is for B2B and it's also for higher ticket B2B services, 5K and up, is that when we're talking in this space, a lot of the buying decision will happen before the first meeting. People will be looking at your profile. They'll be reading your content. They'll be following you and understanding if you're the right person to reach out to. So by the time the first meeting happens, they will have done a lot of recon on you. And that's why you want to optimize LinkedIn so that when those conversations happen, you're best positioned to close that deal. As I mentioned earlier, you have about 60 seconds of someone scanning your profile to assess if you're relevant. And then if you establish relevancy, then they're going to go deeper. They're going to look at your case studies. They're going to click on links and read some of your content, watch your videos and things. Once you're connected, you have a lifetime of being connected to these people. You can nurture conversations. You could, be a part of their network, help them. They can help you. And you essentially build a relationship over time. And finally, all the data that's on LinkedIn, you can access email, phone, data of that person if they make it available. You can also find their colleagues, other key decision makers in the company. So there's a lot of information that you're able to find out so that when you do have a meeting, you're really well informed. Now, people also ask me, what kind of content should I share on LinkedIn? And there's no magic formula, but the type of content that works really well is anything that again establishes your authority and establishes your relevancy. So you want to share, like if you're an expert in a niche, you will understand that people are making typical errors. There's things that people are doing wrong all the time. And you've got disruptive insights. So you've got a new effective method that is disruptive to the way that other people are doing things. Share that. Share your disruptive insights. Also, you can just talk to people's frustrations. So if there's an endemic issue of burnout in businesses, talk about this problem of burnout. And then it's a platform from which you can connect with people to then talk about your solution. Similarly, you can talk about dissatisfactions or common misnomers. So things that people believe that are typically broken or wrong. So myth bust, like Talk about the things that people are doing that are outdated or that are old wives' tales or myths and that need to be debunked. Or if you find that people are often trying solutions and then just trying the wrong thing, talk about that. So, these are common things that people are doing wrong in the IT industry. They're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this. And this is the solution that we've come up with that is, why we feel that we're different and we really create a sustainable solution. On the flip side, you definitely talk to people's dreams and desires. So a lot of what we've talked about is the outcome or the result. So if people want to scale their business and sell it, if people want to generate more business leads, if people want to have a healthier team culture, if they want to increase retention in their company, if they want to, scale to other regions or geographies of the world. So these are their desires and dreams. Just talk about those things in your content. And with that comes their goals and objectives. So the deeper you understand your market, the more you can speak to that with your content. And content doesn't have to be long. It can be a very short post once a week, a short video, things like that. It's just about sharing your wisdom and being top of mind and being constant with your audience. So this is a very, very simple table, and I think you can just see it, in a minute, really. You're allowed to add 100 a week, which means you can add 400 a month of your key leads, key decision makers. Now, if we're going to go for a 20 to 30% connection rate, which is conservative, but it can be the case, this is when we're getting about 100 new connections per month. So in the second month, you've got the 100 new connections from the first month, and then you're going to generate a new 100 new connections. So now you have 200 new connections, and you can see it compound. So by the third month, you're going to have 100 new connections from the previous 2 months, and now you're going to get another 100 connections. So now you've got 300 connections, and so on and so forth. And this is how you start with a small pool of interested leads, and you can grow that and grow that and grow that and grow that until you're able to have rich conversations with a lot of people. So if you're able to add 100 new leads every week in your target demographic, and you expect about a 25-30% plus connection rate, so then that means you can grow minimum 100 per month. And if you're then able to host a roundtable, maybe a masterclass, a webinar, an exclusive, meet and greet, could be remote because most people are online now, and you only get 10 decision makers in that room out of the 100 that you've got that month. So that's a 10%, connection rate to an event. How many of those 10 people that attend your event do you think you could turn into a good lead? Now, obviously, there'll be a percentage of them that aren't entirely ready at the right time, but the fact that they've turned up to your event means that there's a degree of qualification there. They're interested. They may not turn into a lead straight away, but they could be a lead down the road. Now, if we're conservative, let's see if we could get two strong leads out of those 10, which is a 2% from the 100 new connections that we've got for that month. This means that over the year, that's 22 or 24 new consultations every year that you could get. And what does that mean for you in your business? And these numbers are conservative. So typically we could get a 4% call booking rate. And there are ways of also increasing the number of leads that you can add on LinkedIn, which means your numbers can go up. And we're not even talking about cold email at this point. So if you're adding cold email, those numbers can go up again. So if right at the bottom end, we're talking about 22 new quality conversations and therefore leads or proposals in your pipeline, like what does that mean for your business? How much money do you think you could generate in the next 3 to 6 months based on your close rate? And these numbers, it's just mathematics. Like there's no mystery to it, but it very quickly becomes very exciting numbers for you. So if one deal is worth 50 grand and you're able to close one extra deal a quarter, and it's an extra 200 grand a year for your business just by using LinkedIn cleverly, that's not small numbers. And that's the power of LinkedIn. So as I mentioned earlier, the keys are just getting awareness, so getting people to know about you, getting them to understand you, to know that you have a solution, getting relevance, that your solution is good for them and their business, getting distinction and authority, knowing that you provide something a bit more bespoke, a bit more specialized, that you have authority based on your unique experience, and finally, trust that you've created results, that you create results regularly, and that you're a solid business owner. And so that brings us to the end of the training. I'd love you to connect with me on LinkedIn. So add me, Jen Bishop Consulting. Email me if you'd like to ask any questions. I'd be happy to, talk to you about your LinkedIn profile or your LinkedIn process and how you're generating leads. And ultimately, just check out my website. There's a bunch of free training I have on my website and also on YouTube. So just follow me, find out a little bit more. I'd love to have a conversation with you, and I look forward to seeing your business grow. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video.